see if retailers were impacted. Were they affected? Because that's the point. We want them to stand up and pay attention. We also want them to fear us, the consumer, because if we stop spending money, then a lot of these retail outfits and these companies and businesses and firms and corporations they're going to lose a whole bunch of money, and we know how much they love money. So were they impacted? Let's go to The Economist. Economic blackout, how a 24-hour blackout became America's rallying cry for change. On February 28th, an unconventional protest took place. One that didn't involve marches, rallies, or chants. Instead, it called for silence, a day of economic silence. Dubbed the 24-hour economic blackout, the initiative urged Americans to refrain from spending for a full day as a statement against corporate greed, billionaire influence, and the political system's failure to serve ordinary citizens. Before I move on in the article, that's a lot of stuff to accomplish by not spending money for 24 hours. So let's just say that the agenda is very ambitious, but I'll always revert back to the biggest social movement that Americans can participate in on a single day is not necessarily an economic boycott, because it takes as much preparation to adequately implement an economic boycott as it takes to implement a one-day voting strategy for a presidential campaign. Think about how much money was spent, how many commercials were ran, how many interviews we did here at 101.7 The Truth, how many surrogates were traveling the country, and how many interviews you saw on all the cable news channels to get y'all to vote for either Donald Trump or to Kamala Harris. It was every single day, wasn't it? It was every day. It was a new celebrity. It was a new endorsement. It was a new radio ad. It was a new digital ad. It was a new ad you saw, on your cell phone, in the banner section of your smartphone, the pre-roll on your YouTube videos, and the mid-roll where you're watching your favorite YouTube video on how to unclog your sink, and then all of a sudden, boom, a Kamala Harris ad pops up or a Donald Trump ad pops up. They were all over the place, weren't they? And that was to get y'all to vote for one candidate or another. We would need an effort that significant to implement an effective boycott, to get 120 or 130 million people to participate. That is the kind of effort it would take. And all this economic boycott that was on Friday was just a sexual predator posting on his social media page, hey, let's do a one-day boycott to protest all the things we happen to be mad at. Dubbed the 24-hour economic blackout, the initiative urged Americans to refrain from spending for a full day as a statement against corporate greed, billionaire influence, and the political system's failure to serve ordinary citizens. The protest, launched by the newly formed People's Union USA, was a brainchild of sexual offender John Schwartz, a Chicago-based meditation teacher who unexpectedly found himself at the helm of the growing movement. Quote, "The system has been designed to exploit us," Schwartz declared in a viral social media video. On February 28th, we are going to remind them who really holds the power. For one day, we turn it off. Did it work? By midday, retail analysts saw zero signs of consumer restraint. Quote, "It doesn't look like anybody's pulling back," said Marshall Cohen, chief retail advisor at Circana. If you get 5% or 10% of the people that don't shop, and let's be clear, 5% or 10% of the people in this country that are consumers is that's like 30 million people not shopping. So 10% of people not shopping, there's easily 300 million consumers in this country. There's probably 330, 340, give or take. There's probably more people in this country than that because we don't adequately count those who are here illegally. But if you get 10% of the people in this country, that's 30 million people. And those 30 million people could easily spend $100 a piece on any given day. So that's like 3 billion, right? Is that math right? 30 million times a hundo? Yeah, that's 3 billion. That would have an impact. On a single day, $3 billion of consumer dollars not being put into the economy. So that would be, in my opinion, a successful boycott if we could get 10% of the people to not shop. But then the retailers said, If you get 5 or 10% of people that don't shop on any given day, including on a boycott, that could happen because of bad weather. If we get a snowstorm, a bunch of y'all are not going shopping. If we have torrential rain or bitter cold, more people might refrain from shopping because of weather than of this economic boycott. And retailers said by noon, they didn't see any signs of any consumer restraint. Let's talk to Dakota. Hello, Dakota. How are you doing?
Very frustrated right now.
Oh, why?
I don't think people really understand, like, just the insults that went over their head and everything, how people kind of, like, coddle and enable this kind of behavior for him to sit on the world stage and actually talk to somebody like that after you kind of set up a situation for them to come there and be in that situation. Because a lot of people don't know, just like how he built that wall, he actually inked the deal that caused Russia, like, to do what they did. And, he's been real cozy up to Putin for a long time. So I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean here, right?
So you're talking about the meeting between Volodymyr Zelensky, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance on Friday. I am going to get to that, but right now we're talking about the economic blackout that also took place on Friday. Dakota, did you participate in the economic blackout on Friday?
No, I actually been kind of thinking about that the whole Black History Month, just for what it means and all the subtle, insults and jabs that's been being thrown out there too. I kind of thought about that, maybe we shouldn't play by ear so much and be so supportive of some of these businesses.
So you did not participate on Friday. Was this something you were participating in all February long?
Yes.
All right. So you didn't shop all February, or were you intentional about where you spent your dollars?
I was pretty intentional about where I spent my dollars. Didn't eat out much.
Okay.
I probably had to stop at a McDonald's one way, but sometimes you have to stop just for convenience sake.
No, you don't. You never have to stop at
right,
McDonald's. Never.
Right. But it is a Shamrock Shake. That's pretty nice, though, with all the, wonderful things you can take from other cultures. And you got Shamrock and Redheads and everything. And people want to follow the example of a guy who killed himself after he failed. But hey.
A Shamrock Shake is a vanilla shake with Listerine in it. That's all they do. I think they just put mouthwash in a vanilla shake. That's what it tastes like to me. It's unnatural for a shake to be minty.
Have you had it with the Oreo, though? That takes it to a whole other level, I swear, though. I'm sorry, we're supposed to be talking about boycotting and not supporting business.
You're talking about the damn Shamrock Shake. See, this is why we can't have nice things.
And then people spent more money the next day to make up for what they didn't spend, huh?
I used the McDonald's on 26th, 25th in Wisconsin as an example. So Friday, the line at that McDonald's, so Friday was the economic blackout day. The line at the drive-thru at McDonald's on 25th, 26th in Wisconsin was wrapped around the building. And I came in to do my show, and I was like, there were more people at that McDonald's on economic boycott day than I would normally see. Case in point, I drove past that exact same McDonald's today. 2 cars were in the drive-thru line. But on economic boycott day, there was 15 cars in the drive-thru. So people are at McDonald's at a smaller number today than they were on the day they shouldn't have been going to McDonald's at all. It must have been the damn Shamrock Shake.
Sherwin, how do we get more people to listen to your show? Because I don't think people was even aware that there was a boycott going on, too. You'd be surprised how oblivious people are to the world around them.
Do you have social media? Do you have the Twitters and the Facebooks and the Instagrams and all of the things?
I might have a Facebook.
All right. Well, go to YouTube, copy the link, and then share it on your Facebooks. That's one way. Or you can just tell somebody, hey, there's a dude named Sherwin who's on the radio from 9 a.m. until 12 noon where he's been for the last, 13 or 14 years. And then you just tell them, hey, maybe you should listen 1017thetruth.com or 1017 FM on the FM dial, or go to the YouTube. Whole bunch of ways to listen to me, or they can download the free 1017. All right, on Friday, apparently you guys didn't spend any money. I suppose that's good, because that was a movement, and you got to be a part of a movement. That's how you galvanize people together, and you get folks on one accord, and people that may have the same sentiments about the world that we are living in can come together. And if there's some accomplishment that comes out of that, well, then you go on to the next step. I long contend that voting is the most powerful instrument of social change because you really can switch the direction of the nation with your vote. It is also a lot easier to vote than it is to not spend money. Even when you aren't doing anything, you're spending money. We Energy is like, I don't want to call them totally private because there is some government regulation of the energy company, but there is some private overtones to We Energies. Part of a boycott would be sitting in the dark on Friday, not using any electricity. Obviously not buying gas, not buying other consumer goods, or because we know that it's really difficult for people to not spend money because we are a consumer economy. The American economy thrives off of you spending money. It doesn't thrive off of what you make. It doesn't thrive off of what you produce, what we produce and sell to other countries, because I don't even know what we produce and sell to other countries. I suppose cars, but the cars that are made here in America, probably half or more of them have bits and pieces and parts that are made in other countries, or American cars are assembled in other countries. So we don't really produce much. You can't buy an American-made TV, an American-made stereo system. So we don't really produce anything. We produce spending, and we produce a whole hell of a lot of debt. And so it's really, really hard to get someone to not spend as a form of social movement. And so as I did my little research, I wanted to find out, well, who was behind this economic boycott? And what I found was very disappointing. I shared some of this with you on Friday, but then over the weekend, I did a little bit more reading, and I got even more profoundly disappointed. And to some of you, it might have been a very important and crucial first step into maybe a larger movement that is to follow, or maybe it's the precursor to revolution. Don't worry, revolution is not going to come because we couldn't agree who the captains are going to be, who the generals are going to be, nor could we agree on the strategy. And plus, some of the people that we would include in our revolutionary plans would understand the revolutionary plans, and they would go and tell the enemy. Because America is right now in the middle of switching sides in a war. Oh, no, don't worry. We're going to talk about Donald Trump and J.D. Vance absolutely berating the president of another country, our ally, a nation that is fighting for democratic control of its sovereignty over our enemy, that is Russia. The way Donald Trump talked to Volodymyr Zelensky was more than an embarrassment. We're going to have hell to pay. There will be American hostages taken somewhere because of how disrespectful your president was to the president of the largest country in Europe that is fighting a war on our behalf. Because if Ukraine falls and Vladimir Putin goes and invades Poland, that is going to be a trigger for World War III. They might even reinstitute the draft. But here's what the real disaster would be. They can't draft American youth